Hello there, my name is Jason Schmaltz and I'm an AMGA Rock Guide apprentice, and today I'm going to talk to you about rappel transitions. And you might think it's kind of funny to have rappel transitions in a rescue series, but fact of the matter is, on big routes, alpine routes or big multi-pitch routes, time can be a factor, weather can be a factor, and things can catch up to you pretty quick. So being able to transition quickly from climbing to lowering will help you to mitigate some of those risks. Additionally, besides the time factor, is being able to do efficient transitions from the stance of handling things and minimizing the amount of things that you have to handle, or the amount of time that you have to handle them, reduces your risk of dropping stuff, reduces your risk of having rope all over the place, or carabiners falling to the ground, or you losing some key pieces of equipment or something like that. So being able to have these transitions kind of down pat is a really good thing to have in your tool set for when you go out for big multi-pitch or big alpine climbing. So today I'm going to show you how to transition quickly and efficiently from two followers following up in parallel to a rappel. So first thing is, I've approached the belay station or the rappel station where I'm going to belay my followers up. They are going to do the climb, and then we're going to all kind of rappel, or in this case we'll also have some lowering together. But I've already built this anchor just for convenience of the video, and I need to go ahead and clip into this anchor. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I know I want to go to a rappel, so I'm going to clip into this anchor a little bit different than normal. So I'm going to go ahead and get one carabiner on the anchor, and then I will clip only one of my ropes into the carabiner for my clove. And although I'm clove traditionally here to my figure of 8, what I really want is I want to come on the back side of this clove and do another clove onto my belay loop, because ultimately I want control of my ends to go ahead and pre-rig my rappel before my followers come up. So you can see here I have a clove here and then a clove on the back side on my belay loop. So I'm hooked in there as well as my figure of 8. I haven't done anything with this other rope because I'm going to go ahead and pre-rig my rappel. So the next step is I can go ahead and pull the rope up, okay? I'll go ahead and pull the rope up to my climbers below until they say that's me, which with the magic of television they have done. And we will get them rigged into this ATC. And when I pull the rope up, I just pull it in parallel. So I have a pile here with both ropes in parallel, you know, kind of mixed together, and that's fine. That's what you want to do when you're doing two followers in parallel. So I have them rigged, and I'm going to go ahead and lock them off. I haven't given them any signals yet, but I'm going to go ahead and give them the signal to go ahead and break down the anchor, but not start climbing, okay? So they're not to start climbing because I don't want to mine this right now. I want to go ahead and build my rappel. So if I have a walkie-talkie, I can go ahead and do that. If I don't have a walkie-talkie or I can't communicate that clearly, then we'll just let them hang out for 2 seconds while I set this up. But it's kind of good to have you both working simultaneously. If you can, you save a couple minutes there. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and untie the red rope from my belay loop. Now, if you wanted to, if you were in a precarious position and you were afraid that you might drop this rope, you could go ahead and tie it with a backup bight and clip it to your belt. But I have the other end of the rope already controlled. I have a huge pile of rope right here with the red and blue rope mixed together, and presumably I'm on a ledge. If I was on a hanging belay or something like that, I might handle that a little bit different. But most routes that I've seen, alpine or big multi-pitch, they kind of end on a decent sized ledge where you can kind of get your party set. So I go ahead and loop that through, and I can untie my figure of 8 on the blue rope because I'm cloved remember I'm cloved on the back side here, so I'm safe, okay? And I can go ahead and take both ends here and do my flat overhand. Try to do it where you can see it in the camera. And on a flat overhand for a rappel application, you want everything to be really well dressed. Okay. So these are not that well dressed, so I will fix it. Okay. So that looks really good. It's important to tighten each strand one at a time to make sure that flat overhand is tight. And then I can pull it up to the master point. So I've kind of pre-rigged a rappel there, okay? And now I can start having my climbers climb up. I can give them the on belay command. I can untie this backup knot and allow them to come up. So with the magic of television, these climbers are already here at the top. Now you have to use your imagination a little bit. These carabiners represent their belay loops. And so I have the blue climber here on the green cordelette and the red climber on the red cordelette. Trying my best here with the crew that I got. So they've arrived at the top, and I want to go ahead and go directly into a lower, because if I lower each climber, presumably they'll pull my rappel strands down, they'll keep the system closed, and I can go ahead and rappel after them after they lower. Now, obviously, you'll have to take this application kind of scenario by scenario. This is assuming that I can make it to the ground or to a big ledge or to some safe zone where I can trust them to govern themselves without me having to be there. There's a different rigging technique, which I'll probably show in a later video, where you can make it where you are the first one on the ground and you can set everything up for your friends to come down. But this is assuming I can make it to the ground, or like I said, a safe zone with a full length of rope, because I have 2 ropes here. So 200 feet, or maybe even a little bit more than 200 feet, this is a good application for. So I want to go ahead and allow the blue climber to lower first. So with that in mind, I'm going to put a overhand on a bite for my red climber. Okay, and there's about 6 inches of slack there to the ATC. So they're safe and they can just chill, okay? So it's basically like they clothed in, so I didn't have to take the time to clothe them in. And I need to go ahead and prepare to lower my red climber, or my blue climber. So first thing I want to do is set up a third hand, because I'm going to defeat the ATC and lower them. And to do that, we need to have a backup. And our backup is going to be third hand with an auto block. Okay, and I've got that locked. Okay, it's biting. Okay, and I can pull that tight. And then the next thing I want to do is defeat this ATC, okay? So I will come up here with another carabiner. And I can ask this climber to unweight enough that I can pull in some slack into that ATC, okay? Now, if you can see that, you can see that the blue line is now defeated. Okay, the load strand is not bearing down on the brake strand, and I'll be able to lower from this ATC. The reason I like to lower from the ATC, and I'll pull this up a little bit just so you can see the motion. The reason I like to lower from the ATC instead of like a munter is because a munter is going to give a lot of twists and kinks into the rope, and if I have to lower a significant amount, I can risk actually getting stuck. So you want to lower in a device where you're not going to get kinks or twists, and the ATC is one way you can do that. Also, a gree-gree is a way that you can do that. But I have 2 climbers, so that's not really the most convenient option. So with that in mind, I'm going to have to kind of weight this a little bit, because my little exercise bands aren't enough to pull the friction through the ATC. But I'll go ahead and start this lower. And you can see, I'm going to have to kind of pre-feed it through my third hand. So just bear with me. You got to use your imagination, but you can see that's lowering through. And I have it backed up on my third hand. Okay. So I have to pull it a little bit, but obviously if I had a fully weighted human, they're going to be more weight than my right hand. Okay, so now that I've lowered my blue climber to the ground, I need to move on to my red climber and get them on the ground as well. I still have their backup knot in, so they're safe for now. I can go hands-free. I'm going to move the carabiner to the other side. Just kind of makes everything line up better when you have the carabiner that you're going to defeat the ATC with on the same side as the rope. And then before I go ahead and ask them to unweight and put them on lower, I'm going to move my third hand to the red rope. So I have it backed up. I'll lock it. Make sure it's biting. It is. Okay. And I can go ahead and unweight. Okay, you can see that this is essentially defeated now. You can see that purple carabiner is not allowing the device to lock. And it's okay to use a non-locker in this application, because if it fails, I just go to a safer state in the system. So I can go ahead and untie the backup knot at this point. I'll tighten that up, although it's somewhat redundant. And I can start to lower them, the second climber, through the ATC. Again, use your imagination a little bit, but you can see that's easily overcome as they get to the ground. Okay, so now I have everybody on the ground. I can take my third hand off. I'm still safe. I'm still cloved in, and now I have to get on the ground. So let's go ahead and clean up this master point a little bit. I need my ATC device back anyway, so I can rappel. And so I will start cleaning this stuff up. You can take their ropes out of the ATC. If I haven't already, I can go ahead and toss the rope down. I can go through that. The rope is playing off the top of the pile, so it should be an easy toss. One thing to kind of keep in mind as you're lowering the client or your friend is make sure the rope doesn't start sloughing off onto them. But I found that with two ropes together in a pile, the pile kind of stays in place. And the ropes actually come out on their own, like in a single form, pretty easily. So I'll get my ATC out here, and I'm going to go ahead and get this ready to go for rappelling. Okay, so now I'm ready to set up my, my personal rappel. So I'm going to go ahead and grab both ropes with my third hand. I'm going to go ahead and come below my clove, or my last clove, to grab the rope. You don't necessarily have to do it that way, but it's just, for me, helps me kind of keep track of everything a little bit better. So let's make sure that's biting. It is. And then I will go ahead and build my rappel extension. Now again, you know, depending on the scenario, you should build a rappel extension with a PAS as well. But in this scenario, I'm going to be on the ground or in a safe place where I don't need a PAS. But if I wasn't, I would be doing that. So I just do a basket with an overhand. So redundant, easy to check. Come in here with my rappel device and grab the rope. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to being ready to rappel. Now I've closed the system because I have a third hand and a rappel device, or in this case a reverso. But if you're in a precarious position where you don't feel comfortable with this and you want to put a backup knot down here before you kind of engage your rappel, that's fine. But this is a closed system at this point, textbook wise. So I can go ahead and take my clove out. Take my clove out of the anchor. And my ATC or reverso is already tight, so I just pull this through the third hand. Okay. Good. Last thing, don't leave my anchor behind. Okay, and now I'm ready to rappel. Once I'm on the ground, I can reassess the weather situation or whatever made me want to get off the mountain quickly. Maybe we'll just go get some pizza and beer. But hey, I hope you found this tutorial helpful on transitions. I may do another video on this type of transition if you're in caterpillar mode, or if you're just in a pairing. So let me know if you like this and if you have any questions, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks, and we'll see you out on the crag.